Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today we're going to do a fun little project. We are going to plant a tree and then begin our fall maintenance on our existing plants here at the house. Today we are going to be planting a ginkgo tree. This is Princeton. You can see it behind me. It is in a 7-gallon container right now, and it is going to be just a really fun addition to this back space near the patio in the back of our house. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you this because I think it's quite hilarious. Today, just I don't know, a couple of hours ago, sweet friend Laura from Garden Answer released a video where she too was planting a ginkgo tree. Our ginkgos are going to be two totally different trees, but I just thought it was quite funny. You know, what they say is that great minds think alike. And so she planted one. We're planting one. If you're interested in that video, of course, go check it out because her ginkgo tree is going to be a nice little petite ginkgo tree. I think the maximum size on hers was like 10 feet. Princeton, the variety that we are going to plant today, can get up to like 40 to 50 feet tall. So just a little bit of difference between the two trees. 40 to 50 feet tall, 20 feet wide. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with ginkgos are fantastic because they have that beautiful, unique, fan-shaped leaf on them. They are deciduous. But in the fall, they are going to turn this brilliant yellow color. Just is going to be a magnificent display of fall color. And here in our backyard, it will be a perfect addition. We have poplars that are starting to turn yellow, and then we have maples and all sorts of things. So we're just going to have yellows and oranges and reds, all sorts of great colors. Ginkgos are also pretty slow growers. So it is not going to reach its full potential for quite a few years. If you're going to be purchasing a large ginkgo, you might want to go ahead and try to get one, you know, the biggest size that you can either afford or plant because they are pretty slow growers. So keep that in mind. Very cold tolerant. It has more disease resistance, pest resistance, a no fuss kind of tree. It is a moderate water requirements on it. So it's not going to be like a water hog. You're not going to have to be out here watering it all the time. Super simple, but it's going to be a lot of fun and bring a lot of interest to this space. Very columnar and upright. Again, I cannot wait. We are planting it between this side. We have an autumn flame maple, and then on the left side of my left side is a Yoshino cherry tree. So the Yoshino is going to give us absolutely gorgeous blooms in the spring, get a nice big wide canopy, have the ginkgo in the middle, that's a nice columnar, and then over here we have the autumn flame maple that of course gives nice big shade tree, nice big canopy, and it is starting to turn that gorgeous red color that it does this time of year. So what we're going to do is, Jerry is here with me. We are going to use the bobcat with the auger to get that hole dug. It's not a massive root system, so if you had to dig it by hand, or if you have your power planter auger, you could easily do that. Again, this is a 7-gallon size, but we're going to use the tools that we have available to us. So we're going to get the hole dug, and then I'll just walk you through that whole process. All right, so Jerry got the hole dug. We're gonna try to see if I need to dig any soil out from the hole or not. We'll figure that out. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be really nice because again, we do have that clay soil. We never wanna plant our shrubs and trees too deep. So I think she's good. Back out of the hole she comes. And then in goes the biotone. I know we have talked about this like every time we plant trees, perennials, shrubs, about using biotone. That's going to take forever. There we go. So why do we use biotone? Biotone is that fertilizer specifically for root growth. We want that. It helps our roots grow nice and strong and healthy over the winter. That way, when the summer heat hits, they have a really strong root system, and this tree is not gonna miss a beat, gonna handle the heat like a champ. I think I might have Jerry actually come and help me get this out of the container. It is heavy because it's very well watered, and I don't want to mess up any of the root system on this. He's a slow grower. This is I don't know if I told you this. I'm all over the place. It's in the afternoon and this little woo-hoo. So Princeton is a male variety, so it will not produce any fruit. It is the male variety, so he will be referred to as he, because we know that he is a male variety. All right, so what's the best way to do this?
Let's see what it's like here.
Ooh, nice.
There we go.
There we go. Now, the branches are going this way. Jenny is a little OCD, so I need him to go this way. Ha, that's much better. Limbs are going out. So all we're gonna do is get our native soil back in here, because ginkgos are very well adaptable to various soil conditions. But in just a minute, once we get it planted, we're gonna come back and we're going to top dress with some land and seed compost. Get that in here nice and snug. Make sure that when you're planting your trees and shrubs that you don't have any kind of air pockets in the soil, because that way the soil kind of collapses. And you want to make sure that those roots are in contact with soil. I'm just throwing out any clods of grass, getting rid of those. And this is the perfect time for us to do this, because Jerry has not aerated. Oh, he says it's crooked. Better? No? Yes? Let's see. You got to give it the, the good once over. Huh? Well, the branches are a little off balance. You can get in here and kind of manhandle it a little bit. What you think? Yes? No? Maybe so? Looks good? All right. So for those of you that maybe are new to Creekside, we are North Carolina. We are Zone 7B. Yes, this is the real color of our soil, red clay. So I tell people the good thing about clay is it holds the soil, holds the moisture. The bad thing about clay is that it holds the moisture. We have notoriously, and have for the past couple of years at least, had very wet winters. So if we plant our trees, shrubs, perennials too deep, then what happens is if we were to plant this at ground level or put the native soil on top of here, and then we have a really wet winter, water will sit right on top of the crown of the tree, and more than likely it will rot it out. So we like to plant ours up. We never put soil on top of the root ball because we want water to shed away. We are on a slight slope here, so we want that water to shed. It's got plenty of area for the roots to soak up the moisture. Just do not want it to come here, pool, and sit on top of it. So that's why we do what we do. And we're gonna come back with that land and sea. One of my favorite ways to use land and sea is as a top dress. So what that means is that we're putting it around the base of the tree so that all those great nutrients leach down into the soil and the roots can soak it up. And I'm going to be generous and go ahead and use a whole bag on this tree. Now again, with my compost, I don't want to necessarily cover up the root ball, break up any clumps. And just taper it out. My mama likes to get her hands in there and mix it in with the native soil, which you certainly can do. It's not necessary. Get rid of those little grassy clumps. And in fact, what we're gonna do, as soon as we finish with Mr. Princeton here, we're gonna go ahead and go back to some other trees that we have recently planted within the last year or so, and we're gonna get them composted as well. So we're gonna get them in here, taper it out, and then, that's, okay, put y'all right there. Then we're gonna come back, finish this sweet thing up with some mulch, and she'll be done. He will be done. I always refer to plants as she. I don't know why. So forgive me if I forget. This is Princeton, the male. All right. Jerry has a bobcat scoop full of mulch for me, so he's gonna bring this over. My friends, Mr. Princeton is in the ground, fertilized with biotone, nice winter feeding full of land and sea compost, and then a nice blanket for the winter with his mulch. You will notice even when we were putting the mulch down and I was spreading it out, I still left the top of the root ball uncovered. You leave it open. You don't want to put even tons of mulch on top of that. You want the plant to be able to breathe, the roots to breathe. Why do we use mulch around trees? A couple of reasons. One, it helps with the weeds, so it'll help suppress the weeds. Two, it will help insulate the roots. So in the winter, it helps keep them a little bit warmer. In the summer, it keeps them cool. It's like insulation in the attic of your house, right? So it works both ways. And then finally for us, not so much an issue in the winter, but in the summer, it really helps retain moisture in that root system. So that way the tree can stay nice and well watered and nice and happy. What we are going to do now is we are going to come over and do a little bit of fall maintenance on both the Yoshino cherry tree and the autumn flame maple. So we're gonna reposition the camera and we will talk about what we're gonna do there. Here we are at the base of the autumn flame maple, and this has been in the ground for 2-3 years at the absolute most. Time starts to all run together and I forget. Doing really well, starting to put on that beautiful red color at the base. Full disclosure, we did not mulch this tree in the spring or last winter like we should have. Basically, all the mulch is completely gone, and you can see that there is some areas of where the grass is coming back in. So what I'm going to do before I do compost it, I'm going to use this great little tool. It's called a Cobra. I got it from Johnny's Seed. It's my favorite place to get seeds. But this thing is fantastic because you can use it for a variety of applications. It's great for pulling weeds. It's great for making little rows in the vegetable garden. But you can just really get in here and get this grass out. If I didn't get this majority of the grass out, then it would probably be very happy with the compost and start growing. So what I'm gonna do is just get all these little clumps of grass out, and then we can compost and mulch just like we did Princeton. Remember how I told you when we were over at Princeton that one of the reasons that we put mulch down is because it helps suppress the weeds? If Jenny had put mulch around this tree, I would not have to do what I just did. True, weeds will come up through the mulch, but they just pull out so much easier as opposed to being baked into that nice hard North Carolina red clay. So I didn't do what I should have done, and now I had to pay for it by using the Cobra. But you know what? Such is life. So we're gonna do simple, easy peasy. My darlings, 2 down, 1 to go. Now here we are at the this is an Okami. See, dag nibbits. Yoshinos and Okamis, in my brain, similar. This is not a Yoshino. I misspoke in the beginning. It's not a Yoshino. This is an Okami. Gorgeous blooms on it. We planted this a year ago, and it was nice and mulched. Therefore, you can see very few weeds in here. But this is in the vicinity of where we had a crepe myrtle before this tree, and there are some little crepe myrtle suckers that were coming up out of the ground. So if you have that issue, just be vigilant about pulling them out of the ground, and that way they don't actually turn into, you know, big problems, because if you get the wrong crepe myrtle with the little suckers, it can create quite the problems for you. Hence why they are no longer here. All 3 trees are planted, composted, mulched, ready for a long winter's nap. Those roots are going to be very, very happy this fall, winter, spring, and into summer. Now, a lot of people will ask about the biotone. You know, when you're planting perennials or trees or shrubs in the fall, do you just use the biotone, or do you go ahead and use a fertilizer? What do you do? You don't want to fertilize your plants for top growth in the fall, even sometimes beginning in late summer, certainly not in fall, because these plants are getting ready to go to sleep for the winter. They're going to go dormant. What we're focused on is the root growth, not top foliage growth, because that will just simply get burned by the first freeze. The appropriate time to fertilize, I would say the vast majority of those perennials, trees, and shrubs would be from late winter going into early spring, because think about it, they're waking up. What happens to you when you wake up in the morning? You're hungry, right? So same thing with the plants. They're waking up from that winter sleep. They're hungry. They need that food and energy to give us all that beautiful top growth, whether it's flowers or leaves or what have you. So that is the absolute best time, I would say, for the vast majority, as a general rule, for those perennials, trees, and shrubs. So what I will use on these 3 trees is just a great all-purpose, slow-release organic fertilizer. We like to use the Espoma products, so Plant Tone will be the best option for us on all of these trees. Late winter, early spring for us is really kind of end of February going into March. So I will just come, and based on the instructions on the Plant Tone bag, based on the size of the plant, I will just go ahead and feed them. One more fun thing that we have planned, I know this is a lot of our videos here lately are talking about plans that we have for gardens, and we've got one more, because one thing that we're really great at here at Creekside, Jerry and I, we dream, and we dream big. We've been in business, Creekside has been in existence for 16 years, and we dream constantly of things to come. So one little fun thing that we're going to do, and I want to go ahead and get it started this fall just because it's the perfect time to do it, is we are going to create one large bed. Beginning, we'll sweep out right here from the Okami, we'll go down, include Princeton, then swing back up, include the Autumn Flame, and then back around. Kind of like what you call like a kidney bean shaped flower bed. We'll have all 3 trees connected into one massive bed. That way we are still starting to bring in the garden and create those rooms that I so want to have this back space to have. Because we did build our house in the middle of an open field, we really have got to create and bring in structure up close to the house, because all the major trees that are around us are native. Anything that you see close to the house, anything like that, we have planted. So again, this is another way that we can create one of those garden rooms and put here, because there's just so many great plants out there, and we are constantly out here that there's a whole handful of plants that I already know are going to go in here. So that's what we will do this fall, is go ahead and create the beds. I don't know that we'll plant in it. We may not, but before Jerry comes in and aerates the grass and plugs it with new seed, might as well go ahead and make them now, because that's less work for him as far as like aerating and seeding. We can make the beds, get them mulched, so forth and so on. But that's kind of the vision that we had when we were trying to talk about where Princeton was going to go. I knew that I wanted to do that. So we will keep this grassy ribbon between the two beds. We will have little paths to go that you can enter into the rest of the yard back there. But again, just yet another dream, another plan that we will hopefully get started really quickly here. As always, I hope you have found this informative. I hope you have learned something, maybe a little entertaining. But as always, thank you so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.